Hey guys, this is Sean Richter with the Marvel Report. I'm here today at Long Beach Comic-Con 2016, and I'm with Ryan Meinerding, Head of Visual Development at Marvel Studios. How are you doing today, Ryan?
Good, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. So you and I met first at San Diego Comic-Con a couple months ago. I was amazed that you were even there selling your concept art. I'm a huge fan of your work. All the Marvel concept art is so beautiful. And so you were at San Diego Comic-Con. This is what, your third convention so far?
Yes, my third.
Okay, and this is probably a new experience for you, hanging out at conventions with the fans, meeting the fans, talking about with your art. Tell me what that's like and how it's been for you so far.
Well, I've gone to San Diego every year for probably the past 12 years, so going to conventions isn't necessarily a new thing, but yeah, it's been great. Most people are very positive about the work, which is always exciting to get some immediate feedback on stuff that I've spent, about 10 years working on, so it's been great.
Awesome, that's good to hear. How long have you worked for Marvel?
Yeah, I've been there for 10 years. I started on Iron Man 1 in 2006 and then left briefly to go work on Watchmen and then came back to do some early stuff for Thor and Captain America and then on to Iron Man 2 and have stayed ever since.
Awesome, that's great. Tell me what goes into, I'm going to take one character as an example. Let's take Falcon, for example, because he's kind of new to the MCU. When Marvel goes to you guys, this is obviously very early on in the movie-making process, and they say, okay, Ryan, we're going to include Falcon in this next movie. Falcon in the comic books is a very comic book-looking red and white suit. You know, you guys have to make it a very modern, realistic-looking, something that could actually be used in the military. What's the process for you guys? It's probably a long answer, but kind of start to finish, how do you guys sit down and come up with a realistic look for a character like that?
Well, a lot of it starts with the concept that they give us, right? So they'd known that he was going to be in the military. They'd known that, the wingsuit that he was going to be using was going to be something that the military would have used for some sort of pararescue. So using that as a basis, we just start drawing. And because that one was going to be so much about the wings, most of what we started doing was trying to come up with a costume, but to set it against the wings and what the silhouette of the wings was going to be. And once we found sort of something that looked a little bit lightweight but still mechanical and it looked like it could collapse into a small space, that's when we started designing the backpack and tried to figure out like how all the wings would collapse into themselves to fit in the backpack. And then within the costume realm, starting with the Cap movies, we really tried to find a language of tactical yet superhero sort of costumes. And Falcon was just sort of an extension of that, trying to find another language that felt a slightly more modern military than we had done previously, and slightly maybe less superhero for his first appearance in Winter Soldier. And then Josh Nizzi was actually the guy that did the final design for that one, and it turned out great.
Okay, cool. So on average, it's probably going to vary by character. On average, let's just any old movie, how many different costume designs do you guys come up with for each character? Like, how does that vary?
It does vary. Sometimes we nail it on the first one, like the Cap stealth suit. Because that costume is pretty realistic in the comics already, that one I actually did on the first try and got it approved. Other characters we can do upwards of, when you get into the world of Thor and Guardians, like some of those characters probably had 100 variations done to try and get the look. It usually ends up, within the world that we're working. If it's a world we've already worked in, it doesn't take that long. It might be 5 versions or so. Okay. But between 5 and 10 usually is where we land.
Okay. So typically, like, I'm a fan of the art of Marvel books, art of Age of Ultron, art of Iron Man 3, that kind of thing. The artwork that we see in there, obviously it's probably not all of the concept art that you guys do, but like I know, for example, you'll turn to one page and it'll be 4 different concept drawings of what Captain America might look like, and then you turn the page and maybe it's 4 different art drawings of what Black Widow might look like. So in those books, do we not really see all of the concepts? You come up with a lot more concepts than what we see in the books, basically.
Again, it depends on the character, but generally, yeah, there's probably, you probably see about 40% of everything that gets done.
Okay, cool.
So there's a lot of work.
Yeah. And like on average, again, like how far out in advance of a release date? How far out are you guys? This is before anything, right? Is this like one of the very first steps is the costume design for a movie?
We get started probably between 6 and 8 months before shooting starts. So, and then there's usually, about, I don't know, like a year and a half after that the movie comes out, maybe a little longer. So yeah, we're usually some of the first people started. Usually they'll have a director and writers on board, and we start working right when they get going too.
Okay, cool. Now I got to ask you this. This is what you do for a living. Yeah, obviously you're awesome at it. Were you a Marvel fan before you started doing this? Like as a kid, when did you start drawing? Were you like how big of okay, let me ask it this way. If you weren't doing this for a living, how big of a Marvel fan would you be anyway? Like before you did this?
I was always been a huge Marvel fan. I mean, I was buying Cap and Spidey, and like I remember when I was probably 14 is when Infinity Gauntlet came out, and I have, and also Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. So I have like all those comics that I thought were gonna be like my retirement. I've gotten like plastic cases still, right?
Nice.
But yeah, I was a huge comic book kid growing up.
Okay, and like going back to your childhood, I mean, did you start drawing when you were very young, or like when did you start?
Yeah, very young. I was, I've been drawing since I can remember, really.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a personal question here. My son, who's standing right here, is 10 years old. He's always loved drawing. I actually started drawing myself a couple years ago. I was inspired by him, not the other way around. And I'm nowhere near, I'll never be as good as you are at it, but I really enjoy it. So most of the artists we talk to at cons all say the same thing, which what you just said. As long as I can remember, I've always been drawing. What can I do to encourage my son, who already likes to draw, to just, I keep telling him, stay at it. The only way to get better is to just keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, really what it is a lot of with art, it's perseverance and making sure that what you're doing is what you love doing. I mean, most artists will say that. Like, the only reason they really keep doing it is if they love it. And if you love it, then you're going to keep trying to get better and better and better, and that'll be the road that you go down for the rest of your life.
Awesome. Okay, last question. I know I can't ask anything specific about anything future that we haven't seen yet, but I think you can answer this one, hopefully. Which movie are you currently working on?
I'm working on Avengers Infinity War right now.
Okay.
It's a big movie, having lots of fun.
Okay, I know that's all you can say. I will just add this. The Russo brothers have thrown out there that they possibly have as many as 68 characters. I don't remember if they said that they are going to use or just that they have like on the board that they could possibly use. So you guys are going to be pretty busy with that one.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan, for your time. Appreciate it.